I'm Gary Erickson.
And I'm Tyler Hogue.
We became best buds through the heavy music scene.
And now we're doing a podcast, breaking down our favorite bands, albums, and shows.
This is All Consuming Podcast. Welcome to another episode of All Consuming Podcast. Today, we are doing something a little different.
Yep.
Tyler and I texted each other a list of songs that we wanted to talk about. And so this is kind of like a grab bag, mixtape.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, you know. Some singles. We grabbed some songs that we wanted to jump into without any full album review kind of stuff. So, yeah. You got anything to say before
Gary,
What?
Did you used to, like back in the day, burn CDs, like mixes?
Yeah, but I never called them mixtapes.
But they're like mixes, you know? Like, that was like everything I had. I don't even know, like, how many albums is bad that I really owned. I just had, like, mixtapes of singles. Like, I never listened to albums. You know that,
That's
though.
your problem. That's your problem.
And so I just had,
that's
like...
what ruined you. You don't have this full album. Look, so I had like albums, right? I had my big CD flip book. That, you know, you flopped all the pages. They held like 8 on each side, kind of thing. But yeah, I did make some mixtapes. I'm not sure what I called them, but like for like my youth group, all my friends, I'd like put a bunch of songs on and like 15 songs and call it like, our Tread Ministry was our youth group.
Yeah.
But it'd be like Tread Ministry Summer Jams,
Yeah. I still have some in my car right now that I listen to. Metal Mix 1, Metal Mix 2, Screamo Mix 1, right? And like I have all
the Sharpie names of all of them?
Yes, for sure. They're all Sharpied. And then I went and stayed with my buddy Ryan one time a few years ago, and he gave me a bunch of just like old CDs that I just put in my car, and like I listened to those too. And there's a bunch of mixes.
Shazam them all the time. Like, what song is this?
Yes, there was one. Gosh, I feel ridiculous for not knowing this. What's the Australian band? Parkway Drive. There was a Parkway Drive song. I didn't know it. I didn't know it was Parkway Drive. And I'm just singing the lyrics. Like, I'm getting to know the lyrics. Don't even know the song. So I had to Google the lyrics and be like, oh, that's Parkway Drive. Yeah, it was. I'm way behind the times. Or I was,
Still are.
Still am, yeah. Yeah, but this is gonna be our throwback burned CD episode, our mixtape right here.
Yeah, it's an EP, not quite a full length.
True, EP.
So let's get started with a band who broke up shortly after the album came out.
Yep.
And from 6 years ago now is when it came out.
Yeah.
But they're out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's Those Who Fear.
Yeah.
And the song we picked is the intro track, which is amazing. State of Mind.
Okay, Gary, and this is not fully a common theme with all of these songs, but for this one, you sent it to me.
I sent you a lot of songs.
To it. You texted me and you said, "Hey, this is verbatim what you said." Actually, do you remember what you said when you sent it to me?
I know I was working out.
Yeah, you said, "Bro, this song, State of Mind by Those Who Fear, is an absolute jam when you're working out, right? Like, you need to if you want to get pumped up and lift weights, like, this is the song to do it to." And
you don't even need to lift weights. I mean, just listen to the song and you get swole.
Well, that explains. Okay. And so, yeah, you listen to the song and it gets you fired up. There's a lot of awesome, just heavy music. There's one sentence of lyrics.
Yeah.
But, like, it's heavy. And so like I listened to it and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But I don't know if you remember this, okay? You sent me this, you're like, yeah, you gotta, listen to it while you're working out and doing all that. And my wife and I, we came up to visit you and Jen. This is before we had kids even, right? 6 years ago.
Oh boy, a long time. Yeah.
Crystal, my wife was probably pregnant. And we go to this one restaurant, Twigs, in the mall. And the first thing I noticed about Gary, his biceps are, I kid you not, dude. Like, Gary's biceps were freaking swole. He was yoked out of his mind. So he wasn't just like telling me, oh yeah, this is a great song to work out to. He literally just did bicep curls probably to this song. I
just played it on repeat on the way, and I just
like he was wearing. This is weird. You were wearing a long sleeve shirt, so it wasn't even like you were just like wearing a muscle shirt. You're wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I think the first thing I said was like, "Dang, Gary, your biceps are huge."
Yeah,
you remember that?
I do. I was working out a lot at the time.
To this song, one of these,
just this song on repeat,
just on loop. Yeah, so now whenever I hear this song, I just think of your biceps like absolutely swollen.
That's really weird.
Yeah. So Gary, tell me what you think about this song, man.
Oh well, let's see. The lyrics are profound and deep.
That's true.
I believe all he says is, "This is my state of mind."
This is my state of mind.
I really like the song because it's like a huge build-up for the whole album, and if it sets the mood. You have like these chain clinking sounds that are also kind of a percussion, and it's just real slow and heavy, and it's like, it's hard to say because you want to say it's like hardcore music, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's like a breakdown the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just really heavy and chunky, and it picks up, and then it gets to a groove and ends out. But I think it's a great start for this album. And yeah, when it did come out, like, I listened to it that Friday at the gym, and yeah, worked out a ton to it. And then I was like, oh, I better get going because I got to pick up Jen and go meet Tyler and Crystal at Twigs. And straight out of the gym to the restaurant. But I do remember that, and I missed that blue sweater, man. It made me look way more swole, and I don't know what happened to it.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, dude, like, this song to me, like, I imagine it as like the perfect, UFC walkout song or something like that. Just like, it's a great, just like, man, it gets you pumped up, and I think you're right. It's like a breakdown the whole time, and just heavy breakdown. Gosh, it's good. There is something, and I figured you'd know this. There's something that's said at the end-ish.
Got nothing.
Yeah, but there's like some lyrics that are like in the background, and I only noticed them when I was like digesting.
Oh yeah, it's like a
song.
Radio voice.
Yeah. And it says something, but I couldn't really pick it out. But I was like, maybe that's the other sentence of lyrics for this song.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, the sad part is, so I've always known Those Who Fear.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard their music, but I never, like, got into them. I was never like, this is my jam.
Right.
But when this came out, like, they got my attention, and I listened to this one like crazy, and I went back and listened to a bunch. And, like, literally, maybe a month after this came out, the band announced that they were done.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And, of course, they didn't even touch the Pacific Northwest on a tour at the end. I don't even know if they toured this one, but it's just a shame.
A lot of these songs we chose, the band's like, R.I.P., they're done, Mm-hmm. And you go like, and you're like, man, I jumped on this train too late.
Yep.
That's kind of my fear of some of these bands that like we're getting into, like even bands we've covered before on the podcast, like did I get into Phineas too late? Will I ever see Phineas? That type of stuff, you know? Did I get into, you know, I've seen Demon Hunter, but I haven't seen Demon Hunter when I have been into them.
Yeah.
You know? So it kind of is sad looking at these. I'm like, man, they stopped making music after this.
But hey, the past 3 years or so, bands have been getting back together and doing stuff, and there's hope.
There is hope. That's true. Sweet, man. Well, we started off with, this is arguably the heaviest song, but the band we're going to cover next is extremely heavy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, from St. Louis, Missouri, In the Midst of Lions.
Oof.
And we picked a song that I think is their most played or most popular.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
It's what got my attention, and, I love it. We picked The Call. So I love the way the song starts, right?
Yeah.
Eerie, creepy guitar, and to kick it off, he's like, ugh, vomit sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
And gets going, and it's chunky. And I can remember the first time I heard this, someone showed it to me on Turntable, Turntable FM. I've mentioned it before in the past. But website where you share music, right? And I thought that this is the heaviest music gets. Whatever year this was.
2011.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was nuts, like how heavy it was. And I was like, I wonder what the lyrics are. And super awesome.
Yeah.
Christian lyrics. But yeah, real good, real heavy. What are your first thoughts?
I mean, for sure. Like, I think I'm on the same boat where I was like, dude, this is peak heavy. But like peak heavy, like throughout our lifetime, like has consistently changed. Like at one point I thought System of a Down was the heaviest band ever. And so like my life as I get older, I discover these other genres and I'm like, oh, there's this thing called Impending Doom or whatever, right? Yeah. But In the Midst of Lions, I mean, they are heavy, right? And absolutely love it. The guitar tones, just the chugging is awesome. Yeah. Like, I don't... I'm sure it's still happening, but I feel like I miss it. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a tone that we don't really use anymore or don't have. Maybe more in the death metal, I guess.
Just that slower, chuggy...
Yeah. And just slow...
Yeah, I think it's just it's been done so much. I think a lot of bands are trying to do something new. But
yeah. I love this. This is another band I think I discovered after it was too late. I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome. And then I was like, oh, they were awesome. And it was too late, and so I never will be able to see them. And so it's kind of sad because I'm pretty sure It's a Lion show would have been pretty dope.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So let me interrupt you real quick. You brought up System of a Down.
Yeah.
This past week, I watched Sing 2.
Yeah.
Have you seen Sing 2?
I've seen Sing 1.
Oh, man. So on Sing 2...
I have not seen Sing 2.
There's this, secretary lizard lady, with one eye kind of thing.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't remember her from the first movie?
Like a chameleon?
It was like an old lady. She's like a chameleon, yeah.
Oh,
her
okay.
eyes are always
Yeah.
She's supposed to drive somewhere and go do something. I won't ruin anything for the movie for those of you that are just dying to see it that haven't seen it yet. Anyway, she's listening to System of a Down in her Ferrari, Lamborghini, driving down the road. Chop suey. He's like, she's singing along and table.
That's awesome.
Your destination is on the right.
On the right, okay.
It's worth it's a laugh at that 20-second clip of the movie.
This is the weirdest thing ever, Gary. This is like the weirdest way I discovered a band. System of a Down. It was like 7th grade or 6th grade. And for some reason, like in one of my classes, like at the end of the day, the TV was on in the class. You had like actual cable in the classrooms and like actual TVs, you know? And last like 10 minutes of class, the teacher let us watch MTV.
Wait, there's music on MTV?
And there's music. And it was the Chop Suey music video, and System of a Down like had, you know, those crazy long beards their bassists did, and like it was just like heavy, you know? And I discovered them at school on a TV in a classroom.
So
like,
now you
wild.
play music videos at school on a TV, right?
No.
Is that what you're going to...
Never. But I mean, it's kind of similar because I play Spotify, right? So that teacher in their mind was like, oh, we'll let them listen to this as it's
Yeah,
going.
but you just play like lo-fi and Tupac and...
Lo-fi and Tupac, that's it. No,
Yep.
a lot of, you know, some emo stuff I get in there. Yeah, definitely a lot of rap and pop stuff. But I mean, kids eat that up, dude.
Yeah. Children.
Yeah.
So back to the song.
Oh, yeah.
The heaviest part, or your favorite part? Is that what we're getting at?
You know that my
I
favorite
know.
part is any of the breakdowns, right? And the first time they say "now is the time," and they go like and screech. Yes, dude.
Yeah,
like the
I love
first
that
time I
guitar.
heard that, I was like, "Whoa!"
Now is the time. Now is the time.
That's different, right? Like it's kind of different than what other bands are doing or did, and I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, like, it's like... I don't know, like, if you could make the sound of broken glass into a guitar riff, or like
Yeah.
nails on chalk. Like,
Yes.
that's the guitar tone, you know? And it's like... It really builds into that creepy sound that they were doing at the beginning,
and just heavy along with it. And at the end, they sing or scream "Now is the time" again, and it's just filthy heavy.
dun dun
this
dun,
time.
dun dun dun. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so great. It's still a song that if you want to get, you know, pumped up to, it's another one of those that are just awesome.
And I really like the lyrics to the song, because
Yeah.
it's like, you know, the call is, you know, the call of spreading the gospel.
Right.
Make disciples to make disciples, right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me, a little off topic maybe, it reminds me of a sermon from this past Sunday that my church had, that like, some people like, oh, I just don't feel called to ministry, or like, I'm not called to, you know, to be an evangelist, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And which I get. And I think you need to be called for that. But the point of the sermon was, everyone, if you're a Christian, is called to be a disciple, to make disciples.
Yep.
You're not just a Christian and like, okay, I'm saved, I'm done, my job is over, I have nothing to tell anybody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's, listening to this song, I was like, hey, I kind of remember, you know, our sermon this Sunday had that topic.
That's right. Now is the time. Go do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's good. And you know, the other songs that I've listened to from the Midst Alliance are very similar. Like, these dudes were outspoken about the gospel, you know? And a lot of these bands that we chose are, right? Looking back at these lyrics, you're like, dang. These guys go hard.
Christian metalcore.
That's right. So that kind of brings us to the next band we're going to talk about, which is Creations, a band from Australia, and we're going to talk about the song The Wolf, The Close. Dude. So this is another song that Gary sent me, okay? No, he didn't send it to me, actually. I take that back. He sat me down on his couch and said, yo, check out this music video. And that's the first way I heard this song was through the music video.
Wow.
Yeah. And you remember that music video, right?
Dude, it's awesome. Like, if you think the song is heavy, I don't know why, but the music video makes it even heavier.
Dude, absolutely. And it started, I remember you showed it to me, and like the first thing I remember when I was thinking about this song was all the like prosperity gospel preachers at the beginning, like the montage of them, right?
Yeah.
But not specifically that. There's like this one kind of random, like just guy sitting on a bed, and he's like
counting money or something?
He's counting money, and he's like, hallelujah, Jesus, thank you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And like for some reason, like just random times of the day, I just think about that clip. I don't know why. Yeah, but it also
making a sandwich. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus. But it also has our boy twice, Kenneth Copeland.
Oh yeah.
On there, just screaming, like just getting just fired up. Like the reason they use him last in that montage in the music video is that he's literally screaming and it's so heavy, right? And all of a sudden the music comes in, you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's crazy. Anyways, The Wolf, The Clothes, super heavy song and super great lyrically.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk from there.
Oh, okay, all right. So yeah, you know, the song, The Wolf, The Clothes, right?
Yeah.
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yep.
It's, you know, lyrically it's about, you know, bashing prosperity gospel, and it's not even just that, it's talking to those pastors.
Yeah.
Right? It's targeted. It's not like prosperity gospel's bad. It's like, you're not a Christian. You know, in your face lyrics, calling these people out. And yeah, the first time I heard this song is the first time I heard the band.
Yeah.
And I was floored with how awesome it was, you know, musically, and then lyrically is like, it's like, I don't know, like your first time hearing it, you're almost like uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
With the words that he's saying.
Yes.
You know,
when he says, because everything goes silent, right? The way they space out their instruments in like this, you know, kind of hardcore kind of way, it's awesome because the lyrics shine in a lot of areas, and especially when he says, "Why do you treat the cross like a prostitute?" And like at that moment, like when he says that, like I always like look side to side, like he's talking, not talking to me. Like it's crazy, you know, and it does make you feel uncomfortable. That's a great way to put it.
Why do you treat the cross like a prostitute and purvey a false gospel? You'll gain the world but lose your soul. You're not a Christian. You're nothing close.
So funny part about that part.
Okay.
So I'm doing my prep work.
Yeah.
Listening to the song in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think we were about to eat dinner or something, and so Henry was in there too, and he's like, he's getting pretty good at hardcore dance stuff. I haven't taught him or showed him anything, but like he's like mean mugging, and he's got like his fists up to his face, you know, elbows straight out, and like he's like stomping around, and I'm like, you know, what is he, T-Rexing or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it got to that part, you know, where that you're talking about, where he's like, "Why?" And he screams, "Why?" And Henry screams along with him, "Why?" And he's like, "Do you treat the cross like a prostitute?" And Henry's like, "Prostitute." He doesn't even know what it is.
Dude, that's funny.
And he's like, "And purvey a false gospel." And Henry's like, "Gospel," you know, repeating him. I'm like, yeah, awesome. I'm in the mood for this song too. But yeah, that cracked me up.
It just, yeah, because like you don't mistake it. Sometimes in like metalcore or you know, death metal, any core stuff, like the lyrics can get lost. You have to look them up to know what they're saying. You don't have to look these up.
No. Yeah.
No.
And you can understand them. I mean, because they say it all slow and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loud and clear. And there's just so many great lines that he says, and it just like builds up and builds up and builds up, and sometimes uncomfortable, but then when he like screams, just it's one of those where you just feel the anger right behind it, like the passion, like he's saying what he really means. And when it builds up and he finally says, "You're not a Christian, you're nothing close."
Yeah. Whew.
Dude, like, that's gnarly.
It's really awesome. And you're right, there's like I feel like the way that it's screamed and sang or whatever, that certain lines you just remember. And like,
yeah,
years later, someone will say something with a certain inflection. You'll be like, "Nothing close," like,
yes,
you just know, right? But there are a few lines that are in here that I've really, I'll say felt convicted when I first heard, and like, I think that they're so true. And one of them is, "Would you be happy in heaven without the one that created the world?" Right?
Yeah.
When you die, are you like, "I'm so excited to go to heaven and see my friends and family and do this and like learn how dinosaurs were made and just have all the knowledge," right? Whatever your thing is, streets of gold and no more sickness, whatever. Why isn't your first thought to see Jesus?
Yeah.
Right? And that's always been something that's like, oh man, like people don't even think like, would you still be happy in heaven if God wasn't there? Well, that's not heaven.
Yeah.
And they just kind of go, I'll say, downhill from there lyrically, like to the more prosperity, about me and my finances and money. But yeah, I love that.
There's this one lyric that always stands out to me, and it's also the way that he screams it when he says, "God is the only reason you're saved." That part, like,
yeah,
that's the only reason. There's nothing else.
Yep.
And like that sticks with me too. There's a lot of like, yes, there's some like uncomfortable like calling out sin for what sin is, but there's also like some pretty like some good lyrics behind it,
Yeah. And I like that that's in there because it's not just like, you're a bad person for preaching this way, but he's like, money does not save you.
Yeah.
God does not give you money for following him. And they're just like, God is the only reason you're saved.
Yeah.
Period.
And you watch the music video and they're just angry.
Yeah.
Really just in your face, and like the camera sometimes gets kind of a close up on the lead vocalist and he's just angry. Right? And and obviously like there's times too like when people associate those type of preachers, those type of Christians as Christians, it gets me frustrated too. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's just what people think all Christians are. And we're not.
Yeah.
And so that's where that like anger comes from,
Yeah, and it's not just like, I feel like I've already said this, like it's not just like I feel like he's reminding them too, because there's that line where he says, "You have forgotten."
Yeah.
Not that they're, maybe they once knew and they've gone down this rabbit hole of prosperity, but he's like, "You have forgotten the cross."
Yeah.
Right? And it's just really awesome. Like simple lyrics, simple message, and like convicting, and man, never got to see these guys live.
No. Yeah.
Probably never will.
I mean, and I don't know much of the other things from them, but they are like pretty underrated. Like I think this song has like 70,000 or so plays on Spotify. So this is like an underrated one, and maybe people are going to hear this for the first time, which would be kind of cool. Just make sure your little kids aren't around so they don't repeat all the lyrics. Yeah.
So I think with that, we can move on to our next one. A band that has a kind of a cult following.
Yes.
From Nashville, Tennessee, A Plea for Purging. And what I love about this band is their music videos.
Absolutely.
And one of their best music videos and songs is Shiver.
God, we'd all be dead.
So what can I say about this song that isn't offensive? So I'm not gonna lie, that first minute of the song, the first 10 seconds, I feel like you just press play in the middle of a song, or like you were driving in your car and you're like, oh yeah, turn on the radio, and you just turned it up mid-song.
Yeah,
because it just starts.
Yes, it does.
Like, and I feel like it's like halfway through a guitar riff too. Like they didn't want to fade up to start the song, so they just kind of start, you know?
Dude, that's so true. That's hilarious.
But it works and that's why the music video is great, because it actually has like an intro, you know, with him like, should we start with the music video?
I mean, we can. This music video is hilarious and interesting, and it's a plea for purging, right?
What's he say in the music video that you always do? Or you would always say around that time, like the guy on the TV. What did he say?
I just remember it's himself talking to him, Andy, and he's like, Andy, like, wake up, right? Or something like that.
Yeah,
he's like, wake up.
Gives him some mission. Yeah,
you need to go into the wolf's lair and fight the vipers or something like that. I don't know exactly. But he says something along those lines, and then he gets up, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's on this mission where he's literally walking through town, if I remember this right. And then like all the bandmates and like all these people in the city just start like following him to this church where it's Andy like playing a prosperity
you forgot
preacher.
To say he's carrying a boombox on his shoulders.
Oh yeah, he is. Boombox on his shoulders. Yeah, it's crazy. And like the drummer comes in, and the drummer's like playing like a plastic tub or something, paint bucket, right? Like just with his sticks. It's just fun, right? And it's this whole cult following that he's created to go on this mission, goes to this church where there's like a prosperity preacher that's doing every typical thing a prosperity preacher does, right? With all this money and stuff, and they go in there and they just play a plea for purging show, and the prosperity people leave, and it's just a typical plea for purging show. And it's crazy.
It looks like the one we saw, where he's just center stage.
Dude, they were fun live. He was great at getting people involved. You know what I mean?
In the show. Yeah.
In the show. He was like, if we don't have 100 people crowd dive or whatever, crowd surf in this next song, we're leaving, or something weird like that.
He said if we don't get 100 people stage diving, this song will never end.
Yes,
we're just going to stay up here and play the same song until we get 100 stage dives. And there was a line. Like, people would get in line on the stage. I'm like, I guess they really want the song to end.
It's when you watch, like, those vintage, and I say vintage as in, like, 15 years ago, hardcore
ancient,
bands.
I got it, yeah.
Hardcore bands where you got, like, these just hardcore shows, and everyone's just getting on stage, hardcore dancing, jumping off. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. They were on stage with the band, hardcore dancing, jumping off, and it was like the crowd was a part of the show too. Like now, when you do that at most venues, unless they're smaller, right? But most venues, you can't get on stage with the band if they're bigger. You know, you have to jump from like the security fence.
There's like that 5-foot gap between the stage and
Yeah. And this was like something we've never seen. I've never seen so many people do that, crowd surf at a show, and he was so good at getting people to do it, and they were great live too. I thought they were awesome.
Yeah, I didn't really know about them until that Haste the Day
Yeah.
farewell tour. Like I think I've heard them, but I never really paid attention. And we saw them, and I think we went back and binged all their music videos, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, they were a ton of fun. But the line I was thinking of that you used to say, and I swear you used to say it, was, "You're a jolly good chap."
Oh yeah, I did.
But
yeah, at
like,
the very end of the
Tyler,
TV
stop
broadcast, he says that, right? You're a jolly good chap.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. It's just so random, and their other music videos are similar to that too, of their like singles that they released. But they're a fun band. Like, it's weird because we just talked about creations, and like the topic is very similar in this song as is the last song, right? They're very similar, but they go about it in a different way, like visualizing it in a music video.
Yeah. I
Very-
mean, seeing Andy up there with his like comb over wig,
Yeah.
you know, and like his gold tie and his gold necklace and his gold sunglasses up on stage as a prosperity pastor, and people are like holding up money, and he like takes the money from the people in the crowd and then like touches their head and they fall over on the ground. And
Yes.
yeah, totally different approach, but lyrically it's a much angrier song than the fun, lighthearted music video is,
Dude.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the song all revolves around, like, the lyric, in my mind, "If I were God, we'd all be dead." Mm-hmm. When he screams that and there's this gnarly breakdown, think about that, right? Like, sometimes we don't think about, like, God's grace and, like, how people are continually, like, messing up. Like, the world is a jacked up place. If we were in charge of it, it's like, let's end this. These people, man, are terrible.
Yep.
And like, he says it, and just the way he says it too is just like awesome.
Yeah, and it's not just people today. I mean, read the Old Testament.
No, it's
There's-
been people since the dawn of time, dude. I sort of identify sometimes with him, with what Andy's saying here.
Yeah.
And it's just like the breakdown, the music part of it, I just love, right? I especially love a little bit after that when he screams, "The devil's hands have been busy," and it's just like chug chug, like fast chugs going along with it. It's so heavy.
The devil's hands have been busy. The devil's hands have been busy. Grace sustains, but I thirst for revenge. The world would be destroyed if I were God.
It's fun. I think of a Plea for Purging as like a hardcore, but like the shoulder kind of hardcore. Not with your feet, but like you're like, I can always see Andy from, you know, their singer, like shrugging his shoulders as he's up on stage, like screaming, because that's
Shrug
the
dancing.
bouncing shrug, you know.
Yes,
Like that's what a plea is. But
that. Yes, it's kind of more like groovy in a sense. Like it's not just like slow breakdown hardcore metalcore. It is. Yeah, it's a good shoulder
I
shrug.
don't know if I'd be throwing fists or like whirlwind kicks, you know. It's not that kind of hardcore.
There are some other parts too, like he comes in and there's like a synth behind this part too that I think really is cool when he screams "Grace sustains," and it's just like "Bah, grace sustains," and like that's true, right? Like God is gracious, and then like it stops and he's like, "But I thirst for revenge."
vengeance.
It's like, yeah. So it's just so good, and it is really another angry song. But the way they approach the music video and just who they are as a band, they do it in such a different way. Which and it's part of the reason I think they have a cult following like they do. Even after they've been done for a long time, people still love Plea.
Yep. So let's move on to the next song.
Yeah.
So this band is from Pennsylvania as well. But they're from a town called Ephrata, which is 20 minutes from Lancaster. Which, who else is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania?
ABR.
August Burns Red.
Yeah.
And who do these guys sound like?
Not ABR. I'm just kidding.
100%. So this is Texas in July. And before we start, there's a fun fact. They're not from Texas.
I would have bet money they're from Texas. That's hilarious.
No. Yeah, so I actually don't know where their name came from. And we're going to talk about Texas in July. In Washington.
Whoa. Inception right there.
Yeah, but no, the fun part is not this vocalist of the song we chose, but later on they have a vocalist, and he after Texas in July split up, he moved on to Era, and he's their, harsh vocalist, and I really like Era, so I recall this.
Yeah.
But the song we chose is one of their oldest ones.
Yeah.
But Hook, Line, and Sinner.
So that intro is like absolutely all-time great metalcore intro. Like most people, Texas in July, obviously they're a pretty big metalcore band, but like they're not necessarily like an As I Lay Dying or, August Burns Red. But I think a majority of the people in the scene, if they heard this intro, they'd be able to say, oh, that's Texas in July.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just has that, you just know it. And I don't know what I like most about this song. I think because it does bring me back to like that metalcore era, but like the amount of China cymbals that are used in this, just the ka 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 ka.
Uh-huh.
Like I love that. It's so simple, but like the breakdowns when the drums are just going ka 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 ka, it just gets me so pumped up, dude. I don't know why, because no one does that anymore.
Yeah, everyone loves this drummer. Like he's up there with Matt Greiner. Like people really like him.
So good.
The intro guitar like that, da-da-da,
Bing, pinch harmonic. Yeah.
Yep, that whole thing. Like it's cool to see. Like even just watch like YouTube videos of like a live concert. Like they nail that so good.
Yeah.
Every time with timing and stuff. But yeah, it's super unique. And I've always thought of these guys as like a mix between August Burns Red and As I Lay Dying.
Yeah.
Because they're not as technical as August Burns Red. Maybe even throw in some Haste the Day, like early Haste the Day. When you pick this song, I had a hard time picking which version to listen to because there's two of them on Spotify. Right?
Yeah.
There's the old one and a newer one, and there is a little bit of differences in them. Like I think the older one is a little more raw sounding, and the newer one it's cleaned up a bit. But I don't know. It's hard because the raw one is much more like hardcore, like just metalcore from that era, and it's perfect the way it is. But that outro like guitar solo stuff that they do at the end, on the new recording, it's just so more prominent. Like it's just in your face. Like they turned up that guitar, and it really shows. But so I've listened to both of these songs like back to back, the same song, both versions back to back, like several times, prepping for this. And what I really like on the newer recording, they've really pushed like the bass guitar recording. Yeah. Like
you just hear it.
It's so loud, and you just hear it. Like you can hear the strings just rattling.
Yeah. I love that too. That was one of my notes. Like the bass, like especially towards the end of the song, you just like hear it grooving with the breakdowns, with the chugs, with everything. And there's so many breakdowns in this song too, right? Like this was like the crowd goes nuts during this time because like people are throwing fists every time the China starts going, people are just going nuts. And like, it's one of those songs where he tells the crowd what to do in one part where he's like, move, right? He says move, and then all of a sudden it's like huge breakdown.
Yeah, lyrically, there's not a lot in the song.
I tried. I like looked at it, and I actually didn't text you, but I was gonna say, what is this about?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just like something about a golden
like,
veil.
At most, they say like 4
red
words
carpet.
at a time. Like at most, you know. So it's
I'm sure it means something.
yeah.
What a great play on words with hook, line, sinker to say hook, line, and center. Like, you know, that's cool.
No, it catches your eye. You're like,
Yeah. I don't know. There's other parts too that I really like where it's like the guitar's fairly simple, or sounds like it's simple. I don't necessarily know, but it's just like heavy and chuggy, and it's one of those. You get in the pit and you're just going crazy. You have to throw a few chicken wings around, you know?
chicken wings.
Oh, just get that going
Just
right there and
yeah.
just throw them back, you know?
You know, we did see
Yeah.
them live.
We did. I remember this song too.
I remember this song because at that time, I remember like because we knew the bands that were going, and I quickly checked out Texas in July, and I liked that song, and I was like, I'll play. You know, I'm excited to hear them play this one. But I kind of wished I was older or something when I saw them, because I would have liked them more. You know, later.
Yeah.
One of those bands where like you go to see them, but you saw them before you really liked them, so you didn't really appreciate them as much as you should have.
So one thing I do like really remember about this band is like the bassist. I don't know if you remember this. Sometimes like when you're looking at like people on stage, like the performers, you just notice things about them, and then you can't stop looking at them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And like this guy just like stared. He didn't move much, but you could tell he was like angry. But he's like just staring at the crowd, and I felt like he looked at me and just kept looking at me. And I like looked down, like, do I have something on my
He's
shirt?
probably like, why is this kid looking at me?
What's going on? And like I don't know what the reason was, but like I still like remember that to this day. And then like he'd do a few like stomps, you know, when like breakdowns would hit, and then he'd just stare again. Not necessarily at me, maybe through me. And that might have just been his thing, but I was like, I like look back and like, who is he looking at? Like I think
He's probably wondering the same thing. He's like stomping up there, and he like looks at the car. And he's like, "Why is this kid looking at me? He keeps looking at me."
At me. I kept turning around.
He's not stomping. He's turning around to see if there's something behind him, and he's like, "No, he's looking at me."
Yeah, jeez.
So with you
Yeah,
and
so-
bassist, you're also talking about System of a Down's bassist, and
Shavo, I think his name is. He's legend, dude. He had like the beard. Like,
I know,
it'd be
you're
like
just-
yours.
you're just a bassist guy.
It'd be like your beard, only he would like
Just the chin.
yeah, just the chin. He braided it all the way down or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, dude.
Anyway.
At Texas in July, like they're so fun, and they're kind of making a comeback, or no?
Yeah, I'm not sure because
I heard
they
they
did
kinda
that
were.
Christmas show with August Burns Red in
Yeah.
Lancaster.
Which makes sense.
And yeah, and I've heard that they were getting back together, and it wasn't just a one-time thing, but I've also
Yeah.
heard that it was just a one-time thing.
Right.
Because August Burns Red and Era were on tour together, and after that tour is when they did the Christmas thing. So like, you know, JT KV is the singer for the last album of Texas in July called Bloodwork, and so when they were on tour, I'm sure they talked about being from the same hometown, the same, you know, scene, and like, hey,
Sure.
you guys should come open for us in our Christmas show. And I don't know. So I don't know if they're together or not. I don't know if they're making new music, if it was just a quick tour or what. But I'm curious.
Me too. Yeah. Gary, I think this is bringing us to our last song on our mixtape.
Is it?
I think so. And that the band we're going to talk about is also a band that there's a cult following for. We're going to talk about the band Gwen Stacy. but not necessarily the song people think we're going to talk about. What are we going to talk about?
A dialogue.
That's right.
So the weird part is, this has bothered me forever.
Okay.
How do you spell dialogue?
Dialogue.
That's how you spell it. You Canadian or something?
No, I just teach English.
So anyway, well then that's well, okay, let's fight.
How do you
so
but
dialogue,
you're thinking about like a different, like dialogue versus analog. That's different than talking dialogue.
It's not. No, it isn't.
It's not?
No.
Are you sure?
Dialogue without the UE and with the UE is the same word. It's like color. Look,
okay.
I'll let you Google while you're, while I explain this. But it's basically like the British way of spelling dialogue versus the American way of spelling dialogue. And as a software engineer, dialogue is in a lot of words, in a lot of things. But anyway, that bothered me. And it's the name of their album and the name of the song that we're doing. But what I think what most people get upset about with Gwen Stacy is the cult following is kind of split. There's the people who like the old lead singer from the first one with Gone Fishing.
See you in a year.
Yeah.
Love that song.
So the second album, which is where I discovered them and where I fell in love with them, I'll say, was with their new vocalist, and he was like the guitarist, I think, from the band Once Nothing. And I didn't know that at the time. I just listened to their new album that came out, and I was like, hey, this is great. And I listened to their one before, and I was like, hey, I don't like this. But that was in, 2009?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a long time ago. But, so yeah, let's jump into a dialogue. So I think this song stands out in our selection. It's a lot more polished. It's a little more rock than it is metalcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Under Oath metalcore versus like As I Lay Dying metalcore,
Right.
But man, catchy song. Really awesome lines that get stuck in your head. Yeah. And it gets heavy when it needs to get heavy.
It does. I am one of those people, though, Gary, that love Gone Fishing, See You in a Year.
Right.
And so, I love that first album. So good. And the second one is a lot different.
Yeah.
But not necessarily bad, right? It's still really good. And a dialogue, is so catchy. That chorus, though, it hits all the time. And you catch yourself singing it, right? When it's like, I swear, this better be worth it.
You're such a good singer, by the way.
That was shush.
Yeah.
We're going to edit that out, bro. I don't know, love the chorus. I think that might be my favorite part, and that's never been said by me on this podcast. The chorus is my favorite part of the song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
More than, the two breakdowns?
Yes, and I like the breakdowns a lot, especially the last one. But, the chorus, I just think they did so well, writing it and making it catchy and integrating it back into the song.
Yeah, it is well written because there's, I mean, they have kind of started the song. I think they start the song with the chorus, and they have the chorus in there a couple times, and then they also have, one of those, crowd shout where the crowd sings it.
Yeah.
And you hear them saying it, you're like, I swear, like way off in the distance, like a big group of people.
Right.
And then they come back in and sing it again, and it's bigger.
Got a more fun poppy vibe to it than their older stuff, but there's still really heavy parts for sure.
Yeah. And so before we get to the heavy parts, I'll mention lyrically, because I don't know what this song, I mean, obviously it's a dialogue, right? If you read the lyrics, there's like entire sections in quotations,
right?
It's like someone said this, then someone said this, and it kind of seems like, I don't know, like they're both arguing the same thing, that they're having a hard time with life or faith or doubt. They're just like these, like, it's a struggle. The part that really catches me is that chorus, you know, like, it's been 300 days of cold and I am so alone. What can I make of this? And I feel like it's, I don't know, easy to sing to, like when you're like down or upset or like struggling or, you know, sucking at life.
Yeah.
But man, singing along is hard because he sings really high.
He does.
And I feel like there's like a background vocal that is even higher, or just a different key or pitch. And like, if you're gonna sing along with this, you're gonna squeak. Like
you can just sing the bass. You just sing that lower. Yeah. Yeah, dude. You just follow along with that. I remember our boy Vlad, our friend Vlad. You remember him?
Yeah.
Vlad from college. We were talking. We went to this one church.
Oh, not Putin, the other one.
Yeah, not friends. Our friend was not Vladimir Putin in college, but Vlad, he's really funny guy, right? We went to this one church. It was like a huge church, kind of like a mega church, I guess, in college. On the weekends, we went there for Sunday worship, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, you're going to church this Sunday?" He's like, "Yeah, I have to sing the bass register for the worship team." Like, I'm like, "Wait, what?" And like, and then I stood next to him, and the whole time he's just singing in a low voice, like to every worship song. It's like Chris Tomlin or Hillsong up there, or whatever. And it's like Oceans, and he's just like singing the bass, you know.
Thank God he was there, because if he wasn't,
what
that would have sounded terrible.
So you can just be like Vlad, dude, and you can sing the bass of this chorus.
All right. So yeah. with the bass talk, shall we move to the breakdown?
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
So I really like the, I'll say it's the little breakdown where he says, "I burn my bridges to the ground." With failure as my road, I burn my bridges to the ground. With failure as my road.
Yes, I like both of the breakdowns. I really like the outro. I think that's a fun breakdown. Back on the meaning, like I've always thought there was like this like dialogue between him and God in my mind, but maybe it's not. Like trying to really digest this, I don't really know, but it definitely is about like doubt, right, of some sort, and like it ends with like, it's the real world, dude.
This is the real world. It's falling apart. This is the real world. It's falling apart.
And you're falling apart.
And you're falling apart. Like that's it. Sorry. There's like no resolution in my mind.
Yeah, it made me think it might be an argument with himself.
Yeah, it's true too.
Like one of them is trying to have like this realistic approach to life, and I've heard people say that it's an argument with like a non-Christian or like a Christian but like a pastor who's against this metal scene. Oh. Or someone that's like, what you're doing is a waste of time, and they're like, I feel so alone, I'm really struggling, and they're like, this is your own fault, you did this, and he's like, I just want help, like "Oh, me of little faith" is one of the lines that he says.
I do like that line. I put that in my notes. I thought that was clever.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what it is, and I did my due diligence. I dug on the internet and I looked for an interview or something that said, what it means. Couldn't find anything concrete. So it's ambiguous. It's up to your interpretation.
Yeah. I really like this song. I don't know. I think people are split. It'd be interesting to see how people feel, but I wish that they would have continued to make music because I like this direction. I think there's a place for obviously there's a place for this type of metalcore in the scene, right?
Yeah. This is what's coming back, that
it is
more catchy because everyone's kind of tired of the deathcore, the everything is as heavy as it can be, and I feel like bands are now taking a step back and it's about the art, it's about the music, it's about the story, so
for sure.
I don't know. Yeah, and I'm upset that they broke up too, because it was around that time that I found them too. I found out that they had already broken up.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I just love this album. The whole thing, a dialogue from beginning to end, picking a song to talk about. There's 4 that I was like, I don't know, Tyler, pick one of these 4. I like all of these. But yeah, it's, and it is a lot more polished, and I think a lot of people like the more hardcore, noisy,
raw.
Raw, the Chariot sounding, Norma Jean sounding previous album.
Yeah, it sounds and there's parts too, they're the heaviest Under Oath is what they were, and now they just kind of went down that a dialogue's a little more poppy, but I mean it's a really awesome album.
So I guess that wraps up our mixtape.
That's our mixtape,
our mix EP,
our episode on 6 songs that we just love, man.
So hope you guys found something or discovered something you liked or reminded of something you liked.
Yeah.
So I want to wrap up by thanking our patrons for supporting us. And if you like what we're doing and you want to support us, buy us a cup of coffee by joining our Patreon. And if you want to be part of the conversation and join a community of like-minded people, join our Discord server, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.